The stars had never felt so cold. Adrian stood on the edge of the alien landing platform, his heart pounding in a rhythm that felt almost unnatural against the backdrop of an alien city glittering with turquoise lights. He was human, a visitor among beings whose very existence is understanding. But tonight, the world felt impossibly large, impossibly lonely. The memory of his life on Earth, the laughter of his family, the gentle warmth of his sister's embrace, felt like fragments of another lifetime slipping through his fingers. And then he saw her. She was taller than any human, her skin a luminescent shade of pale violet that seemed to pulse softly with her heartbeat. Her hair cascaded like liquid silver, shimmering in the ambient light, and her eyes, those eyes could have drowned him. They were a deep, endless blue, like a galaxy contained within a single gaze, piercing into the very depths of his soul. Adrian had seen portraits of alien royalty before, but none captured the intensity of a being who carried both the burden of a crown and the weight of her own loneliness. The alien queen, known to her people as, regarded him silently. For a moment, it was as though time itself had paused, leaving only the two of them suspended in an unspoken understanding. Adrian's legs felt like lead, his hands trembled, and yet when he opened his mouth, words failed him. For her part had lived for centuries in a palace of cold brilliance. Diplomacy, command, and expectation had shaped her life, leaving little room for warmth or the chaotic beauty of human emotion. But there was something in Adrian, a fragility wrapped in courage, that stirred a part of her heart she thought had long been sealed. She could not explain it, not in the terms of politics or duty that dominated her existence. She only knew that she wanted to understand him, to reach across the impossible gulf that separated their worlds. Adrian finally found his voice, shaky but sincere. I didn't expect to meet you like this. I wasn't prepared. His lips curved into the faintest smile, one that seemed to light the darkness around them. Preparedness has little meaning in life, human. It is in the unexpected that we find truth. Her words struck him like a spark in the dark. He wanted to ask her more about her life, her people, her universe, but the platform trembled as a sudden alarm rang through the city. Adrian's first instinct was fear, but beneath it was something else, determination. He would not let fear dictate his actions here, not tonight. As chaos erupted around them, Adrian acted without thinking. He reached for her hand, a gesture that in human terms was intimate beyond reason, but he hoped it would convey his sincerity. Did not pull away. She allowed her hand to linger in his, a subtle acknowledgement of connection. Then came the moment he never intended. In the midst of the confusion, with sirens blaring and citizens scrambling, he blurted the words that had formed in his heart before his mind could stop them. "Will you marry me?" The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Humans and aliens alike froze, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Adrian's face burned with embarrassment. He had not meant it as a formal proposal, not yet. It was a confession of admiration, of longing, of something deeper than words could capture. But now it hung between them, a fragile, luminous truth. Studied him, her expression was unreadable, yet her eyes softened. For centuries, she had known duty, strategy, and the cold demands of sovereignty. But she had never known this raw, unfiltered human emotion that shimmered so brightly it threatened to melt centuries of composure. She stepped closer, her hand still in his. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper soft enough to be almost a secret. "Finally." Adrian froze. "Finally?" he asked, disbelieving. "Yes," she murmured, her gaze unwavering. "Finally, someone has seen me not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a being who longs for the same thing every heart longs for: connection, understanding, love." In that instant, Adrian realized that the galaxy, with all its mysteries and wonders, had led him here. Not to a throne, not to an empire, but to her. And for the first time in centuries, allowed herself to feel hope. As the city's lights flickered and alarms continued to wail, the two of them stood together, hand in hand, caught between worlds. The universe had not prepared them for this meeting, for this confession, for this fragile beginning. Yet in the midst of chaos, something profound and undeniable had begun. The first thread of a love that could transcend stars, species, and centuries. And neither of them would ever be the same again. The platform beneath them quaked, a low, vibrating warning that echoed through the alien city. Lights flashed red and violet in alarming sequences, signaling an intrusion of unknown origin. Citizens ran in orderly chaos, their movements a dance of urgency shaped by centuries of alien discipline. Adrian tightened his grip on his hand, as though anchoring himself to something solid in a world that had suddenly become unmoored. Did not flinch at his touch. Her eyes remained fixed on his, her expression a mixture of curiosity, patience, and something Adrian could only describe as wonder. "You do not belong here," she said quietly, almost to herself. "And yet, your presence changes everything." "I don't know what I'm doing," Adrian admitted, his voice small but honest. "I've never been anywhere like this. I don't understand your world, your people, but I want to try. I want to understand you." Her lips curved into the faintest, almost imperceptible smile. "And that is why you are different, Adrian. Most come with arrogance, with assumptions. They look at my people, at me, and see only subjects, only spectacle. But you see me." Adrian swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. It was the first time anyone had ever truly seen him, not as a visitor, not as a human anomaly, but as someone capable of empathy, courage, and love. In that moment, he felt a connection that transcended language, species, and expectation. The alarm grew louder, cutting through the fragile intimacy between them. Turned sharply, her regal composure returning like a tide, pulling away the gentle warmth she had allowed to surface. "We must move," she said, her voice firm yet calm. "This is not a safe place for you." Adrian nodded, though his heart ached at the thought of leaving her side. "I'll follow you anywhere," he said. His words were instinctive, impulsive, but filled with a sincerity that caught even him off guard. They moved swiftly through corridors of iridescent metal and glass, Adrian stumbling occasionally as his human legs struggled to keep pace with graceful, elongated strides. Around them, the palace's intricate halls reflected shimmering patterns of light, casting illusions of stars that seemed almost real. Yet Adrian's attention was entirely on her. The way her hair caught the ambient glow, the quiet strength in her step, the subtle vulnerability she allowed him to glimpse. Finally, they reached a secure chamber deep within the palace, far from the alarms and chaos. Closed the door with a soft hiss, and for the first time since the intrusion began, Adrian allowed himself to breathe. The room was intimate, a rare human comfort within the alien elegance. Soft, muted lights, walls lined with delicate luminescent panels, and a single window revealing the swirling expanse of their city below. Finally released his hand, but her eyes never left his. "You are reckless," she said, though the words were tinged with something softer than admonishment. "Proposing, whatever the intent, amidst chaos, it is not wise." Adrian felt a pang of embarrassment. I didn't mean to, I just—" His words faltered. He had never experienced emotions this intense, this terrifying. "I just wanted you to know that you're not alone, that someone cares." Her gaze softened again, and a sigh escaped her lips, a sound so rare it made Adrian's heart skip. Humans are impulsive creatures, reckless, yes, but there is honesty in your impulses that I have rarely encountered. They stood in silence for a moment, the world outside forgotten. The hum of the city, the alarms, the unknown threats, they faded into insignificance compared to the fragile, tentative connection forming between them. Adrian felt a warmth spread through his chest, a hope that he had long thought impossible in a universe so vast and indifferent. Then spoke, her voice a whisper that seemed to wrap around him like a protective embrace. "You have stirred something in me, Adrian, something I thought had been lost to centuries of duty, something human, something fragile, yet beautiful." Adrian's throat tightened. "I don't know what to say." "Then do not say anything," she replied, stepping closer. "Just remain, let the silence speak for us." For the first time in his life, Adrian understood what it meant to feel truly seen. Not as a title, not as a curiosity, but as a being capable of love, of fear, of courage, of connection. And as luminescent hand brushed lightly against his, he realized that this accidental proposal, the impulsive, reckless declaration, was not a mistake. It had opened a door neither of them knew they were ready to cross. Outside, the city raged and the world demanded action. But inside the chamber, amidst soft glows and unspoken confessions, Adrian found a moment of eternity. The universe could wait. Tonight, they were simply two beings, meeting in the delicate intersection of duty and desire, hope and vulnerability, human and alien. And in that moment, Adrian felt something he had never believed possible, that love, even in the most unexpected form, could bridge worlds. The chamber's soft luminescence did little to calm Adrian's racing thoughts. He had never been this close to someone whose entire existence felt like a different universe. Alien Queen, ruler of a civilization whose history spanned centuries, was walking beside him now, yet he felt the same weight of isolation pressing against his chest. Their earlier intimacy lingered, delicate as a butterfly, and yet the outside world was relentless. His gaze was fixed on a holographic map projected from the room's center. Stars, satellites, and patrol routes blinked and shifted across the air. Adrian's eyes darted from point to point, trying to make sense of it. "Is this a threat to your people?" he asked cautiously. "Yes," she said simply. Her tone was flat, commanding, yet a faint tremor betrayed the concern she did not allow herself to voice openly. "There are factions within my world, those who do not trust humans, who see you as a potential weapon or distraction. And then there are forces beyond our planet, drawn to the energy signature of this city. It is precarious." Adrian swallowed, the words heavy in his throat. He had always thought of alien worlds as distant, untouchable, and abstract. Now, standing in the heart of one, he felt the crushing weight of reality, war, politics, and centuries of entrenched distrust. And yet, amidst all of it, had chosen to allow him close, to trust him in her own way. Why me?" he asked quietly, his voice almost a whisper. "Why let me stay when everything around us could?" Her gaze softened, and for a fleeting moment, Adrian saw a flicker of vulnerability that centuries of rule had never allowed her to show. "Because, Adrian, you are not like the others. You do not approach me with fear or calculation or desire for power. You approach me with heart, and that is something rare." His chest tightened. "I don't know if I'm brave, I can't turn away." Studied him, her eyes scanning his face as if reading the lines of his soul. "Human courage is different from ours," she said, almost to herself. "You risk yourself not for duty, not for legacy, but for love, and yet that same love could make you a target." Adrian's hands clenched at his sides. "Then I'll face it, whatever comes." Her lips quirked slightly in the faintest smile. "Boldness, reckless but honest, yes, that is human courage." She reached out and gently brushed a hand against his cheek. "But you must understand, being close to me comes with consequences. There are those who would see this as a betrayal, as weakness. And she hesitated, her eyes glimmering with emotion. "I cannot allow harm to come to you." Adrian stepped closer, closing the gap between them. "Then let me face it with you, not as a subject, not as a pawn, but as someone who cares, someone who loves you." Her eyes widened slightly, and for a moment the commanding presence of the Queen slipped, leaving only the alien being who had waited centuries for someone to truly see her. "Love," she whispered. "Is that what this is? You would risk yourself for love." "I would risk everything," he said firmly, his voice unwavering. "Because if I don't, then what's the point of surviving at all?" A silence fell over them, broken only by the distant hum of the palace and the faint alarms echoing from the city. Gaze softened further, and she let her hand linger on his. "Perhaps," she murmured, almost as if testing the sound of the word, this is what I have been waiting for. A human heart, unshielded, unafraid, willing to see me not as a queen, but as someone." Adrian's throat tightened. "And I see you, every part of you, even the parts you hide." For the first time in centuries, allowed herself to truly breathe, letting the walls of protocol, duty, and expectation crumble around her. Yet beyond the chamber, the galaxy continued its relentless spin. Threats loomed, and forces both human and alien could bring ruin if they discovered this bond. She straightened, her queenly poise returning with a reluctant grace. "We are fragile, Adrian, and yet perhaps that is the point. In fragility lies strength, in vulnerability truth, and you have shown me both." Adrian nodded, feeling an unfamiliar mix of exhilaration and fear. "Then we'll face it together, whatever comes." His gaze softened one last time, her lips curving into a smile that was both tender and commanding. "Together, human, let us see if our worlds can survive what our hearts have found." As the alarms continued their urgent song and the city trembled with hidden threats, the two of them stood side by side. One human, one alien, bound not by duty or fear, but by the fragile, luminous thread of love. And in that moment, they discovered a truth that neither had anticipated, that even in a galaxy governed by chaos, connection could create a force stronger than any weapon. And as Adrian looked into her eyes, he realized that no star, no empire, no distance could dim the light that now burned between them. Night fell across the alien city like a velvet curtain, though the sky itself shimmered with swirling colors that no human had ever seen. Adrian stood beside in the chamber, both of them silent, listening to the distant hum of the palace and the occasional echo of alarms. He had never imagined that the vastness of space could feel so close, so intimate, yet so threatening all at once. His eyes scanned the horizon through the massive, translucent window. The city below flickered with lights as drones and patrol units navigated the streets, their movements precise, almost hypnotic. "They are coming," she said quietly, her voice taut but controlled. "Those who oppose me, those who would see our worlds divided or worse, destroyed." Adrian's chest tightened. "Then we have to prepare, whatever it takes, we stand together." Her gaze shifted to him, the faintest flicker of doubt shadowing her features. "Do you understand what you are saying, human? Standing with me, it is not merely symbolic, it is dangerous. It could mean death, not just for you, but for those you care about on your world. Are you willing to risk everything?" He reached out, gripping her hand firmly, refusing to let fear dictate his actions. "I've already risked everything just by coming here. I won't turn away now. Not from you, not from this." His expression softened, and for a moment the weight of her centuries of leadership seemed to lift. "You are reckless," she whispered, almost in awe. "Yet, perhaps reckless is what the universe needs sometimes." Before Adrian could respond, a low, resonant vibration shook the chamber. The holographic map shimmered violently as red warnings flashed across the projection. "They've breached the perimeter," said, her voice now sharp, authoritative. "Patrol units report multiple incursions in the northern sector. If they reach the palace, there will be casualties." Adrian's pulse quickened. "Then we need to act now. We can't wait for them to come to us." His eyes softened as she studied him, the human heart she had come to trust now shining with courage. "You are unlike anyone I have ever known," she murmured. "Brave and foolish, but perhaps that is exactly what I need." Together, they moved to the palace command hub, a room filled with alien technology that hummed with power and possibility. Screens displayed maps, patrol routes, and alerts, while holographic models of drones and ships rotated silently above. Began issuing commands in a language Adrian could barely comprehend, her tone a mixture of precision and urgency. Yet he did not step back. Instead, he absorbed what he could, offering suggestions based on human logic and intuition. To his surprise, listened. She trusted his input, valuing his perspective in ways that no other advisor ever had. The first wave of attackers arrived sooner than anticipated. Outside the palace walls, alien craft streaked across the sky like shooting stars of war, their engines screaming as they maneuvered with deadly precision. The alarms blared louder, but amidst the chaos, Adrian felt a strange calm. He was herewith facing the storm side by side. One of the drones exploded near the outer perimeter, sending debris flying. His hand found his, her grip firm and unyielding. "We cannot falter," she said, her voice a blend of command and reassurance. "If we do, countless lives will be lost." Adrian nodded. "Then we won't falter together." Hours passed, each moment stretching into eternity. They moved seamlessly, Adrian assisting where he could, leading with a grace and authority that made his heart ache with admiration. Yet beneath the adrenaline and strategy, there was a tension that neither could ignore, the unspoken bond that had begun with an accidental proposal. Every glance, every brush of hands, every shared word of encouragement deepened their connection, even amidst the threat of death. Finally, after what felt like an endless night, the attackers retreated, their ships vanishing into the swirling sky. The alarms ceased, leaving only the quiet hum of the palace and the soft illumination of the city below. Adrian sank to the floor, exhausted but unbroken, his gaze finding. She knelt beside him, her eyes shimmering with something beyond relief. You risked yourself for me, for my people, for this world, she said softly. And yet you remain. Adrian reached for her, holding her hands in his. I stay because I choose to, because I can't imagine standing anywhere else. His breath caught, and for a moment the weight of centuries seemed to melt from her shoulders. Human, she whispered, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. You are remarkable and impossible, but perhaps that is why I finally feel hope again. As dawn approached over the alien city, painting the sky with strange shades of violet and gold, Adrian realized that the universe had placed them together not by chance, but by design. They had faced fear, chaos, and death, yet in the midst of it all, they had discovered something extraordinary, a bond that could bridge worlds. And in that moment, both human and alien understood a truth that transcended species, galaxies, and centuries. That love, even in the face of unimaginable danger, could become the most powerful force of all. The city had fallen into a fragile silence, but the calm felt unnatural, as though the night itself was holding its breath. Adrian leaned against the chamber wall, exhaustion tugging at his limbs, yet his mind refused to rest. The events of the night, chaos, danger, the unspoken moments played over and over in his mind like fragments of a vivid dream. Entered silently, her presence commanding yet tender, she paused, studying him with a gaze that was both inscrutable and piercing. You should rest, she said softly. You've risked more than anyone could ask of a human. Adrian shook his head. I can't, not yet. His voice was heavy with emotion he could not fully articulate. There's too much at stake, and I can't stop thinking about you. His lips curved slightly, almost imperceptibly. You speak of danger and duty, yet your thoughts dwell on me. She stepped closer, her eyes luminous and endless. Do you truly understand what this means, to care for me, to be entangled in my world, my responsibilities? Adrian met her gaze without flinching. I don't fully understand everything about your world, he admitted, but I know that I care for you deeply, and if that makes me vulnerable, then so be it. I would rather face vulnerability than live without seeing you really seeing you. For the first time, allowed herself a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. You speak of honesty, of courage, of love, yet even now I am burdened by doubt. Can I allow myself to feel this, knowing the consequences? Can I let my heart betray centuries of duty? Adrian reached for her hand, holding it gently but firmly. You're not betraying anything by feeling, he said. You're human, and I am human too. We feel because it makes us alive, and if we deny it, what are we left with? Her eyes glistened with a soft light, reflecting both the luminescence of the chamber and the fragile hope stirring within her. You are remarkable, Adrian, she whispered. Even in the midst of chaos, you find clarity. Even in the shadow of fear, you find courage. How do you do it? He smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and genuine warmth. I don't do it alone, he said. I do it with you because when I see you, everything else fades. All the fear, the uncertainty, it matters less than this. Us. His hand tightened slightly in his. And if the world rejects this, if my people or yours cannot understand? Her voice trembled almost imperceptibly, betraying the weight of her centuries-long burden. Then we face it together, Adrian replied, unwavering. Whatever comes, we face it together. I won't turn away from you, not now, not ever. The Queen's shoulders sagged with relief, and for the first time in centuries, she allowed herself to lean into his presence. Finally, she murmured, echoing the word that had so changed the course of their story before. Finally, someone sees me, not the Queen, not the ruler, not the legend, just me. Adrian's heart ached with emotion. I see you, he whispered back. Every part of you, even the parts you hide, especially those parts. They stood together in silence, the city outside still trembling from the night's unrest. Yet in that chamber, time seemed to pause. The distance between worlds, species, and centuries felt irrelevant compared to the bond forming between them, delicate, fragile, yet unyielding in its sincerity. Finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, yet carrying the weight of centuries of longing. I have never felt hope like this before. I have never dared to imagine that someone could care so purely, so completely, without expectation, without ambition. You have given me a gift, Adrian, one I feared I could never receive. Tears, unbidden and shining like liquid starlight, welled in her eyes. Adrian reached up, gently brushing them away with a tender hand. "Then let me keep giving it," he said softly. "Every day, every moment. As long as I live, I will give you this gift, my heart, my honesty, my love." His breath hitched, and she leaned closer, her forehead resting lightly against his. "If only humans knew the power of their hearts," she murmured, voice trembling with vulnerability and wonder. "Perhaps the universe would be different." Adrian closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of her presence flood through him. "The universe is what we make it," he said quietly. "And right now, I choose to make it ours. No matter what comes next, no matter the danger, no matter the fear, I choose us." For a long, suspended moment, they remained like that, two souls from entirely different worlds, united not by duty or destiny, but by the fragile, luminous, undeniable force of love. And in that silence, both felt a clarity they had never known before, that the heart, when allowed to speak freely, could overcome any obstacle, defy any expectation, and bridge even the most impossible divides. And for Adrian, and the night was no longer a time of fear. It was the beginning of something extraordinary, something neither human nor alien had dared to dream, yet both now held with trembling certainty, a love that could endure all. Dawn had barely touched the alien city when the first warning signals pierced the fragile calm. Adrian and were already awake, their hands intertwined as they surveyed the palace's central command. The air was tense, charged with the invisible electricity of impending danger. Neither of them needed words to understand the stakes. The night's intruders had not given up. They were coming again, stronger and more organized. His fingers brushed against Adrian's. "I need you to understand," she said softly, though her voice carried the gravity of command. "What we face now, it will test not only our bond, but the loyalty of all those around us. There will be those who cannot accept what we share." Adrian's gaze met hers, unwavering. "I've chosen this, I've chosen you, and I'll stand by you no matter the cost." A faint smile, almost imperceptible, flickered across her lips. "Your courage, it unsettles me, not because it is misplaced, but because it forces me to face something I have avoided for centuries, the vulnerability of my own heart." The palace shook with the first wave of the attack. Outside, alien craft streaked through the sky, their engines roaring like celestial beasts. The city lights flickered, casting shadows across the chamber that danced like silent witnesses to the unfolding chaos. Eyes hardened as she issued commands with precise authority, directing troops, deploying shields, and coordinating countermeasures. Adrian watched her, awestruck by the seamless combination of grace and power. "You make it look effortless," he said quietly. "It is not effortless," she replied, her gaze softening for a brief moment. "It is the only way I have survived centuries, and now I must survive not just for myself, but for you." Adrian's hand found hers again, squeezing it gently. "Then let me fight with you," he said. "Not as a pawn, not as a visitor, but as someone who belongs here, with you." Her eyes glimmered with a mixture of admiration and fear. "Belonging is dangerous," she said, voice low. "If they see you as part of my world, they may strike at you. They may strike at everything you hold dear on your own planet." Adrian nodded, determination burning in his chest. "Then I accept that risk. I have accepted it from the moment I stepped onto this world, the moment I saw you. I don't want to turn away from this, from us, from what we could have together." The alarms intensified as another wave of attackers breached the outer defenses. The palace trembled under energy blasts, and Adrian felt a surge of adrenaline he had never known. He moved beside, assisting where he could, holding her hand in fleeting moments when the danger pressed closest. The bond they had nurtured through stolen moments, whispered confessions, and quiet vulnerability now became their anchor amidst the chaos. After what felt like hours, the immediate threat was pushed back. The palace, though, still stood. The attackers had retreated, for now. Adrian slumped against a wall, exhausted, his heart still racing from the near-constant adrenaline, knelt beside him, placing a luminous hand on his chest. "You did not falter," she said softly. "Even when everything was against you, even when fear would have been the natural response, you remained steadfast." Adrian exhaled, his energy spent. "I stayed because of you," he admitted. Because no matter how terrifying this is, I can't imagine standing anywhere else. You are worth every risk, every fear, every moment. A tear slipped from his eye, her centuries of stoic endurance breaking in a rare, unguarded moment. You make the impossible feel possible, she whispered. And yet, there is a price. Every choice comes with consequences. I cannot protect you from them all. I cannot shield you from the world's judgment, nor from the dangers that linger just beyond sight. Adrian lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss against her skin. Then I will face it with you, he said. All of it. No regrets, no turning back, because whatever comes next, I want to face it with you. His gaze softened and she leaned closer, her forehead resting against his. Human hearts are fragile, she murmured, and yet, yours is stronger than I imagined. Perhaps, finally, I understand the truth that I have hidden from myself for centuries, that love, real and unguarded, can change everything. Outside, the city began to recover from the assault. Drones returned to patrol, shields reactivated, and lights steadied. But inside the chamber, time seemed suspended, held in the fragile yet unbreakable connection between two beings from entirely different worlds. Adrian and stood together, knowing that danger would come again, that their bond would be tested, and that the universe offered no guarantees. Yet in that moment, amidst exhaustion, fear, and uncertainty, they discovered an unshakable truth, that even when the world demanded sacrifice, love could give them the courage to face it all. And as they held each other, hearts pounding in sync, both human and alien understood that the price of choice was high. But the reward, the luminous gift of love, was worth every risk. The alien city shimmered under the light of twin moons, a landscape of silver and turquoise that felt both beautiful and surreal to Adrian. But beauty offered no comfort tonight. Reports of a new, more dangerous faction had reached its command hub, and tension hung in the air like a living thing. Every alert, every pulse of warning reminded them that safety was fleeting and peace fragile. Adrian stood close to, his hand brushing hers. We've faced everything before, he said softly. We can face this too. Sighs, deep pools of wisdom and weariness searched his. This may be the most perilous yet, she admitted. Not just for us, but for everyone we care about. I cannot guarantee survival. Adrian's gaze hardened with resolve. I don't need guarantees, I need you. That's all I need. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. Brave and reckless, she murmured, the words laced with affection. It unsettles me, Adrian, that a human heart could carry such certainty when all I feel is caution and centuries of learned restraint. Then let me carry some of it for both of us, Adrian said. His voice was steady, unwavering. Let me stand beside you not as a visitor, not as a pawn, but as someone who loves you, fully, utterly. His chest rose and fell, and for the first time she allowed herself to fully breathe, letting centuries of fear and duty slip away for the briefest moment. Finally, she whispered, echoing the word that had begun this improbable journey. Finally, someone has reached me. The alarms shrieked, pulling them back to reality. Outside, ships streaked across the sky, and energy blasts painted the city in flashes of violet and white. Moved with commanding grace, issuing orders, her voice cutting through chaos. Adrian stayed at her side, helping where he could, holding her hand whenever he could, silently lending courage where words could not suffice. Hours passed in a blur of strategy, explosions, and swift, decisive action. And then, as dawn broke across the horizon, the final wave of attackers retreated. The city, though battered, survived. Adrian leaned against the observation window, watching as the first rays of light painted the alien spires in gold and silver. They were exhausted, yet amidst the relief, an unspoken truth settled between them. They had faced the universe together and emerged stronger. The walls they had built, of duty, caution, centuries of fear, had crumbled, leaving only the fragile, luminous bond of love. Turned to Adrian, her eyes shimmering with tears and starlight. I have waited centuries for this, for someone who sees me, not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a being capable of love and fear and hope. And now you are here. Adrian brushed a hand against her cheek, his thumb tracing the faint luminescent patterns in her skin. I see you, every part of you, every shadow, every light, every fear, every hope, and I will not turn away. Her lips curved into a smile, fragile yet radiant, as she took both his hands in hers. Then, let us be brave together. Let us face whatever comes next as one. Human and alien, heart to heart, bound not by duty or expectation, but by choice. Adrian drew her close, wrapping his arms around her, feeling the warmth of her presence against the chill of uncertainty. "Together," he whispered, their foreheads touching. "Nothing else matters, not the past, not the fear, not the stars, just this moment and us." Closed her eyes, letting the centuries of solitude and responsibility fall away. "Finally," she murmured again, a soft vow that carried the weight of time, longing, and newfound hope. "Finally, I am seen, I am loved." Outside, the alien city pulsed with the first light of a new day, resilient, alive, and full of promise. And inside the palace, two beings from entirely different worlds held onto each other, discovering a truth that transcended species, galaxies, and time itself. That love, when chosen freely and embraced fully, could conquer fear, overcome obstacles, and illuminate even the darkest corners of the universe. In that quiet, luminous moment, Adrian and realized that their journey was far from over. But no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together, hearts intertwined, souls bound by a love that had impossibility. And for the first time, both human and alien understood that some connections were eternal, some bonds unbreakable, and some loves destined to shine across the stars.